Texas is trying to ease the surge at our southern border by busing illegals to Democrat-run sanctuary cities. But what if the Lone Star State could stop the surge itself with a new law, surpassing the federal government so they could enforce the border and deport illegal immigrants directly? Is that possible? That's what we asked Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick on our show yesterday.
The bill that you plan crafting, does that empower Texas DPS or Texas Rangers to deport illegal immigrants?
Well, right now, that's 3 months away, so let us write the bill. But let me assure you this, that we will write strong legislation that makes sure there's no question that we have a right to protect our citizens.
To include deportation? To include deportation?
Guys, let me write a bill first. Let's not write it here, okay, on the air on Saturday morning.
Here to break down what can legally be done is former acting DHS Deputy Secretary Ken Cuccinelli. Ken, thanks for being here. So we pressed the lieutenant governor, and in the state of Texas, lieutenant governor is very powerful, even more so, some would say, than the governor. And he didn't want to answer it for the most part, and then he eventually said, we're writing a bill that will take up to 3 months to write when the legislature is back in session. What should that bill look like, and could they already have that authority? I mean, a lot of questions here.
Yeah, so the authority to remove, deport is an immigration word, but Texas has the constitutional authority under the very last part of Article 1, Section 10, Paragraph 3, that when it's actually invaded, it can exercise war powers. And nobody's talking about tanks and planes. We're literally just talking about a state version of Title 42. That's what it looks like operationally. But it's based on Texas's constitutional power to defend itself. They do not need to pass a bill. The governor has this authority to declare the invasion and to deploy Texas resources, National Guard, their DPS, and so forth, to do that. And that includes the key power is the ability to remove people without being in the immigration system. So they can take them back to the border and put them straight across the border. And while that's politically challenging, the authority exists in the Constitution. States didn't give it up, the ability to protect themselves when they created the federal government. And here we have a federal government not protecting our states, especially the border states, from invasion. And over in Arizona, you hear Kari Lake saying she will do this. And again, it does not require legislation.
So you're saying it does not require legislation, which means you don't have to wait the 3 months.
Correct.
And the other question would be, why have they waited thus far then? Is it just what you kind of mentioned? The politics are really tough? I mean, is that it? Because they're screaming from the rooftop about, they're saying the word invasion. In fact, the lieutenant governor said it multiple times on our program yesterday. Why not make that declaration? Why have they waited?
Well, I think they wanted to see if Operation Lone Star would do the job, and it hasn't. I mean, it has helped. They've gotten more drug seizures. But with the sheer size of drug seizures going on at the border, ask your local cops, what's the street price of fentanyl? What's happened to it in the last 2 years? Heroin. Every hard drug comes over that southern border, and the prices have plummeted. That means the supply, the cartels are getting them in here as easy as they would like. And so Lone Star is not working. The numbers of people crossing the Texas border, we'll just zero in on Texas because that's what we're talking about, has gone up, not down. So if the ultimate measure is stopping the invasion, it hasn't done it. So here they are a year and a half later, but they are, a month and a half from an election. It would probably look rather political to do it now, frankly, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't do it. On the other hand, you have Kari Lake, who's being very open in Arizona, saying, look, if you elect me, this is part of what you get. I appreciate that forthrightness, and it is an option that governors have. If they want to write legislation on something, they might do a public health order like the federal Title 42 order and attempt to go that route. But that's a little more complicated, frankly. They already have, as you noted, the power to take care of this problem themselves. And by the way, other governors, DeSantis, Ricketts in Nebraska, other governors, Nome, have said, we'll send people. It's Warren Zevon all over again. We'll send lawyers, guns, and money. But they'll send people to be deputized into the Texas chain of command to give them the manpower to pull this
It
off.
just there's a limit to how much you can say we're being invaded and talk about the crisis, but then, as you're saying, not use a tool at your disposal to actually make it happen. Ken Cuccinelli,
that's right.
Thanks for breaking down.
While saying we're doing everything.
While saying we're doing everything when you're not, which I think is the reason why the questions were asked yesterday and dodged, at least in part. Ken Cuccinelli, thank you.